Hi everybody, welcome to this edition of The Veteran Voice, which we are recording at the Practice Plus Group Hospital in Birmingham. I have with me today three people. One is the director of the hospital here in Birmingham, and that is Sam Doubleday. With her, we have also one of the former patients, Derek Clark, and a representative, the regional coordinator for the military charity Stepway. Sam Doubleday, welcome to the podcast again. Lovely to have you here. And we are, of course, recording this in the Practice Plus Group Hospital in Birmingham, where you were director and, of course, the national Veterans Champion lead for all the Practice Plus Group hospitals around the United Kingdom.
Yep.
So, lovely to have you with us.
Thank you.
Could we perhaps start with a few details about your military background? You were Royal Air Force.
I was, yep. I served in the Princess Mary's Royal Air Force Nursing Service for 16 years. Varied career. I'm a nurse background, so intensive care nurse trained. Did a variety of leadership, clinical roles, tours, Kosovo, Afghanistan, squadron commander at Cranwell as well. So really broad career whilst I was serving, and loved every minute of it.
And you were there for 16 years, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
What was the low light and what was the highlight?
Low light, I think, was when you're on tours and seeing what we saw when we were out there. Highlight for me was the camaraderie, the people you met, the variety, and throughout the whole 16 years, there was more highlights than lowlights, definitely.
And for you, it was an experience which you would recommend to people?
Absolutely. I just, I loved every minute of it. It was personal reasons why I left the military, and it's still a career that I would recommend to absolutely anybody. Right.
So anybody listening to this or watching this podcast, you could really recommend a career in nursing in the Royal Air Force.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or indeed all the
exactly.
armed
I can't be
forces.
biased to Royal Air Force, so
No.
I'll say all three services.
All three services.
Yeah. And for nurses, it gives you a very broad profile because you're not always staying clinical either. You go into a lot of the leadership roles and you have other opportunities. And it's just, I think, it really does set you up with your skills when you do leave service as well.
Right. Now, you're director, just like that, you're director of the Practice Plus Group in Birmingham.
Yep.
Talk me through the early stages of your career in private medicine.
So after leaving service in 2015, I became a matron at one of the other independent providers, where I served for 4 years at another hospital in Shrewsbury. Again, loved every minute of it. It was quite a transition when you leave the military and you go into the civilian world. There are certain things that are different, especially the way you do things, how you lead. So you just adjust to that. Love that, and it was a massive challenge for me when I left service. And then I was lucky enough to become hospital director for another provider, and again 4 years there as well. And that was quite interesting because I was running 2 sites then. So there was one site that I built from ground basically, and oversaw that build. And then I was lucky enough to get this position here with Practice Plus Group, and it was after acquisition here of the hospital in Edgbaston. It was going through the full refurbishment, mobilisation, and now optimisation of the site.
Now, of course, you're also the programme lead for Veteran Aware, if you like, the champion, the Veterans Champion for the group.
Yeah.
Did you proactively seek that out, or were you offered it, or how did it come about?
It was kind of a bit of proaction, really, because actually some of our sites were doing an amazing job getting veterans aware, and a couple of them, so in Portsmouth and Plymouth so Plymouth had got veterans aware, and Portsmouth and Southampton were pushing for veteran aware. And for me, obviously, I was very keen to get Birmingham Veteran Aware as well. And it's like, well, we've got 12 hospitals across the group. Surely we should all be working together to try and get each site Veteran Aware. So I kind of took the lead, bringing the other sites in as well. I say lead, everyone's inputting into this, and everyone's making it happen basically in their sites. I think I'm just the coordinator really and trying to bring all this together. And they're doing an amazing job. So we've got 4 of our hospitals so far that I have achieved Veteran Aware, and our site in Plymouth have just been re-accredited as well. So amazing.
Yeah, well done. So a Veteran Aware hospital, I mean, what's the difference between a Veteran Aware hospital and one that doesn't have the Veteran Aware sticker on it?
So it's about that understanding of the veteran and of the pathway. It's about having the veteran champions on site. So these are individuals who volunteer to do the role. They'll do the training, and which is provided online. And it enables us to make sure that any veteran that comes into our hospitals have that smooth pathway. If they're requiring additional support, they'll know, like Op Restore, Op Courage, they'll know where to channel the individuals. And it also gives us that piece with the community as well. So with veterans charities and having that relationship with them in supporting us with the veterans. And again, it's about, can we help these veterans, and if they need additional support, we've got the charity names, etc., that we can refer them to.
For those listening, watching, could you just explain Courage and Restore?
So Restore is regarding individuals' rehabilitation, and Op Courage is regarding supporting mental health.
And you work closely with these operations as a
yeah,
whole?
to refer people into if we need to, or give them the signposting really into these additional support services.
Yeah. In one sense, it sounds too good to be true, really, doesn't it? That you can go into the NHS as a veteran, or indeed anybody.
Yep.
And these days, you can then finish up in a private hospital that the NHS will pay for that.
Yeah.
Can you just talk us through the process for veterans in particular?
Yeah. So people don't realise they have patient choice. So you can go into your GP. So, for example, if you need a hip replacement, you can go into your GP and ask for a referral, and you can say to them that I would like to be seen in a private hospital. So you can ask for Practice Plus Group Hospital Birmingham, and that referral should be sent in to us. You're absolutely correct. We have contracts with the NHS to deliver services, so it is paid for by the NHS, and that's to give them capacity and to help support with their long waiting list. And especially around the veterans piece. So I see it on Facebook groups. People are waiting such a long time to get procedures done. They're in a lot of pain. They want to get them done quicker. And this is an absolute option they have that people just aren't aware. And sometimes the GPs aren't aware that actually, so for example, one of our patients, Derek, who I'm sure you'll be talking to later, came from Peterborough to have his procedure done with us. And actually he had 2 procedures done with us within 6 months.
No, it's good to have Derek with us today. And I've got some questions for him in a minute. But it's, could you turn somebody down and if you can, why would you do that?
So the only reason why you would not take a referral is if they there's clinical indication. So they had too many what we call comorbidities. So, in the independent sector, most hospitals, not all, some have higher level of care, but most of us can only take up to a certain level of care. So we've obviously patient safety is at the forefront of everything we do. And if it's what we classify with our criteria, too unsafe to see that patient, then we couldn't put that patient at risk.
And presumably the NHS itself, obviously will know that, and therefore wouldn't put patients in your direction who they would think would require more than you could provide.
Absolutely. And that's part of the GP referral is we have what we call inclusion criteria. So they're aware of what we can and can't take.
Yes.
Sometimes a patient does slip through and have slightly more conditions than what we could take, and that's the discussion that we'll have with that patient.
Yeah.
And it's about making sure there's communication and the patient fully understands why.
Okay. So just one last question to yourself, and then we'll move on to Neil and to Derek. What are the plans for Practice Plus Group, particularly for veterans, of course?
So it's to continue growing. Sorry. So for me here, especially in Birmingham, it's to continue, getting the word out there and growing the patients that we can see here at site, because we're lucky enough not to have very long waiting lists at the moment. And of course, that's taking patients not only via NHS. We do take private patients as well through a self-pay or through insurance methods as well. And it's to grow as a group, and they are very much wanting to support the veteran community. And for me, this is veterans all over the country who need help and need support, don't feel they're getting it quick enough. Then we're here for you.
So Derek, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
You were listening to Sam there, and the story that I understand to be the case is that you were in a tremendous amount of pain, and it was to the hospital that you came via the NHS,
Yes,
and
right.
you received all the treatment here, and that basically is your involvement with Practice Plus Group.
That's right. Yes.
Going back a little bit, you're in the REMI,
That's right. Yes.
and what's the story of the REMI, and where did you serve?
Well, I joined the REMI in 1978 as an apprentice,
Yeah.
vehicle mechanic. Served most of my time in Germany, but I did tours. I did the Falklands War, the First Gulf War, and Bosnia.
So there's quite a handful there in terms of tours. And Falklands, can you tell me a little bit about that? What stage did you actually go ashore?
Sailed down on the QE2 to South Georgia, cross-loaded to the RFA Stromness. We sailed to the Falklands and went into Bluff Cove, probably around about the 25th of April.
So
May.
you saw a lot of action down there, one way and another.
Yeah, saw things.
Moving on, it was 23 years, was it, that you were with the REMI?
24 years altogether.
24.
Yeah,
Okay.
2 years as a boy and 22 as a man.
Right. And why did you transition in the end? What was the reason for that?
It's the end of my career. It's the end of my 22-year contract.
Right. Okay. And you didn't want to sign on for a bit longer.
I tried to, but there wasn't the opportunity.
Right. Okay. So, what did you then focus on after that?
I tried to get a career outside in the civilian sector. Took agency work to start with. Eventually got a job with a company called Antion, who are a defence manufacturer. We used to make containerised solutions for the MOD.
Right.
Until they got taken over by another company, we got made redundant.
Yeah.
I now work in a private school, Witham Hall in Lincolnshire, and I do carpentry work there for them on the maintenance team.
So that's a bit heavy, isn't it? I mean, bit wearing on the body, the legs.
Oh, yeah.
And during the course of this, later on, after you've been there for some time, you began to feel a few aches and pains.
Absolutely, yeah.
How did that come about?
I sustained an injury while I was in the forces, and I was medically downgraded because of it, and that was my knees.
Yeah.
So I was put on kind of lighter duties for the rest of my career.
Yeah.
They carried on deteriorating throughout my life.
Yeah.
And to the point where I had to seek medical advice and get them looked at. I got referred for my right knee a few years ago, and I was referred to Colonel Mayer, who works down at Oswestry.
Yes.
On the Welsh border, who does a lot of veteran surgery. my doctor referred me to him. I eventually got a letter back saying he's too busy. He can either refer me to one of his partners or I can go to a local hospital.
Yeah.
So I opted to go to a local hospital, the Fitzwilliam Hospital in Peterborough. And I saw the consultant, he put me on his list. And it took probably about 16 months from that consultation to get my first knee surgery done. After I had that done, my hip was failing. In fact, it totally failed. That same hospital put me on their list. I was told it's going to be well over a year before I would see surgery.
What was your reaction to that when you heard it was going to be almost a year or maybe longer?
I tried to speak to them to see, look, it's totally failed. I can't live like this. The pain's intense, sort of thing. And they said, basically, the list is the list, sort of thing. And they couldn't bump me up because clinically, sort of thing. They
was there a link between the problem that you were facing and the pain that you were in and the service injury?
Oh yes, yeah.
Definitely at that point. So
definitely link, yes.
Both hip and knee were related to.
It was documented. I'm actually a war pensioner, so my injuries are recognised by the MOD as service-related injuries.
Right. So even holding up your war pensioner's card, if you like,
made no difference.
It made no difference whatsoever.
No.
Okay.
And
But how did you feel about that?
I felt quite cross. I didn't know where to turn, sort of thing. I was becoming fearful that I might have to give up work because I couldn't move.
Yeah.
My whole life was changing because I couldn't do anything. I couldn't do any maintenance around the house. There's a whole lot of things that I used to do where it was becoming more and more problematic because of my injuries. So I was probably a little bit cross, sort of thing, but I didn't know where else to turn.
But how did you feel about the idea that you'd fought in all these different places, in particular the Falklands, of course, Bluff Cove, and you were very much in harm's way on behalf of the country. Then when you present yourself at the hospital, and both on 2 occasions, and both of them could, at least in part, be traced back to your service. How did that run with you?
I understood that everybody's got their own clinical needs, sort of thing. And just because I was serving my country, I didn't see that that I was more entitled to the surgery than anybody else at the time. So I accepted the decision as it was.
Yeah. So you accepted that and got on with it. And then how did that change that? Because in actual fact, you were in a slightly different position to others with similar situations because of the Armed Forces Covenant, and you had been disadvantaged by what happened to you.
Well, the hospital that I was under, I don't think were a veteran aware hospital.
Right.
And in fact, my doctor's surgery were very kind of new to the veteran awareness thing, and I had to speak to them to kind of get my documents updated to the fact that I was a veteran.
Yes. I see. Right. So how did you actually make it to Practice Plus Group?
A guy asked for the contact details for Colonel Mayer down in Oswestry, and Neil from Stepway. He said to this guy, they're not the only hospital that look after veterans. So I messaged Neil, and Neil put me in touch with Jazz in the Practice Plus Group here in Birmingham. Yeah. And so I spoke to her. She said, get your GP to refer you, which I did. And that was the hardest part of my journey, is getting the GP to understand why that I wanted to be referred out of the area, why I wanted to use my patient choice. But he eventually referred me. And I had a consultation on the 7th of August, and I had my surgery then on the 1st of September 25.
That's amazing.
So within 3 weeks, I was then virtually out of pain with my hip.
So if it hadn't been running into Stepway online,
that's right, yeah.
Then you wouldn't have.
I'd probably still be waiting now.
Right.
For my hip joint.
Right.
But in the meantime, I came back for my consultation to make sure the hip was all settled down nicely.
Yeah.
And Mr. Denny, who I say is a fantastic surgeon, and I'd recommend him to anybody,
Yeah.
looked at my knee. He said, "We'll get that done now as well." So he put me on the list, and on the 13th, I think it was of January this year, I had my knee done. So
Right.
so I'm now walking about pain-free, medication-free.
And presumably you'd recommend this place
Absolutely.
to anybody who's
Yeah, absolutely. would
in
be. Yeah.
something like this situation.
The care I had from the consultant, Mr. Denny, to the whole of the staff, everybody was so welcoming, warm. My family came down to see me. They looked after my family well as well. So I can't fault the place. It's home for home.
Right. Well, Derek, thanks for telling us your story and your experience of Practice Plus Group. I mean, that's must be very encouraging for those listening in who were perhaps in that position you were in when you weren't getting anywhere.
Well, I hope somebody else can benefit from my experiences.
Well, Neil, welcome to the podcast. It's an interesting one, isn't it? There you were on Facebook putting whatever it was online that morning, night, or evening, and one of your actually former veteran colleagues from the Falklands, who I don't know whether you'd met beforehand at all. You didn't? Did you know each other?
No, we didn't know each other
You
at
didn't
all.
and he's reading this, and suddenly, click.
Yep.
You're in a position to send him on his way to Sam's Hospital.
Yeah, indeed.
Eventually.
Yeah, it just happened that I was reading Facebook, saw somebody mention about requiring some orthopaedic support.
Yeah.
Wanting details for a hospital down in Oswestry.
Yeah.
And I put a comment on there saying it's not the only one. And the next thing I know, I've got a message from Derek saying, can you help me? And that's what we do at Stepway. That's what the whole of Stepway is about. And we're all about collaboration with other authorities, other organisations.
Yeah.
To share the love, so to speak.
Show the love. Well, just I mentioned it earlier on that you're a Falklands veteran, and tell me about your military career. How did that?
I joined up as a boy sailor in 1980, and signed my contract on my 18th birthday in February '82.
Right.
And we were quite happily enjoying a little trip to Gibraltar on exercise.
Yeah.
And we were due to come home for April, for Easter leave in April. Unfortunately, we left Gibraltar at the very end of March, and we come across the north of Africa and turned left instead of turning right to go home. So yeah, as an 18 years old and 6 weeks, I'd headed south for the Falklands as part of the Paraquat originally, or Paraquet. Which was the recovery of South Georgia. And then we met up with the rest of the task force, and we led the flotilla into Falkland Sound on the day of the landings on the 21st of May.
And then, of course, Antrim had a very unfortunate.
We had a little bit of an encounter. We had a 1,000-pound bomb hit us, and it went through the main missile magazine. We were fortunate it didn't explode. We called on bomb disposal. They were on board for about 10 hours with this bomb rolling around the ship, and then found that they couldn't defuse it. So in the end, it was removed whilst it was still live. That was the first time that it had ever been done. Effectively bomb moved whilst it was still live from a Royal Navy warship.
Yeah. And so your career moves on. What was a high point? What was a low point?
I think probably the high point was returning from the Falklands War effectively unscathed. The low point was perhaps being in a position where I had to go to war. Things moved on from there. Unfortunately, things do come back to bite you. And in 2021, I was diagnosed with PTSD.
And how was that treated?
I was quite fortunate. I spoke to my doctor, and I was quite aware of the services that were available. And basically, he gave me an ultimatum that I contact Op Courage myself, and he gave me effectively a month to do so. And if I didn't do it, he was going to refer me in. So I bit the bullet, and I referred myself into Op Courage. I was treated very, very quickly. Within days of me making the phone call, I'd actually got a face-to-face with a support worker. Eventually referred on for treatment. I was treated very, very quickly. So from the date to the date that I referred to the date that I was actually sent back to normal GP care was less than 12 months.
Right. Well, that's pretty good, isn't it?
It's immense. And as I say, that was through Op Courage, which is the mental health support through the NHS directly for military personnel.
These days, of course, you're a regional coordinator for the military charity Stepway.
I am indeed, yeah.
In that capacity, I mean, how many cases do you come across where you perhaps don't say it to them yourselves, but you definitely say it to yourself when you're walking away, perhaps, this person should be treated a lot better than this?
It's pretty much a daily thing.
It's a daily thing as much as that.
Almost a daily thing.
Really?
There are a lot of services around for military support.
Yes.
Unfortunately, most military people don't know where to find it. And that's part of the reason that Stepway's here. We are great advocates for collaborative working, but we are, in effect, we're like a facilitator. So we work with a number of organisations, a number of agencies. People like Op Courage, we work directly with them. We work directly with the DWP Armed Forces Champions. And then obviously we have the connections with places like Practice Plus Group Hospital Birmingham.
Yes.
And it's all, to us, everything is about a joined up approach. There is no wrong door. And if we haven't got the support in place that somebody specifically needs, we will actually physically go out and we'll find the right support. We don't just work alongside people like Op Courage. We also work with Op Restore, Op Fortitude, even Op Nova, which is the support agency for veterans in the justice system. So we work with the likes of the probation service. We support veterans in roughly about 8 prisons at the moment. We're looking to expand that as well with further funding.
Do you think that the Veteran Aware campaign has been successful when it comes to NHS and beyond, of course?
I think it has been successful. Unfortunately, with anything where any sort of veteran accreditation and Veteran Aware sort of campaigns are undertaken, sometimes they don't move quickly enough. There are still a number of GP practices and hospitals that aren't aware of Veterans Aware accreditation, and there should be. So the more people that are available to support our veteran population, the better.
When did you come across Practice Plus Group as a veteran aware organisation?
So I think it was roughly about 12 to 18 months ago. We first sort of joined up with Practice Plus Birmingham, and it was a quick phone call, really, from Jazz. And we seemed to hit it off, and everything that she was saying seemed to fit really, really well with the ethos of Stepway. So we arranged a meeting, we had a chat, and things moved on from there. And now we have a really close working relationship with Practice Plus Group Birmingham, even to the point where we now come on over every so often. We do a banter and brew.
All right.
Exactly what it says on the tin. People, veterans come along. Cups of tea, bacon sandwiches, etc., at our normal premises. I'm not sure what we're going to be doing here, but it's certainly been in the past where we've had cups of tea and biscuits on offer. But it's a veteran-safe space where veterans can be themselves. They're effectively talking to the same people who've walked a similar walk and totally understand the veteran mindset.
Yeah, you as a group stepway, I mean, you do all sorts, don't you? I mean, you've got allotments and...
Yeah, we have multiple pathways, so to speak. So we have the community gardens projects,
Yes.
which is effectively an allotment project, and we work there on a seed to plate basis.
Yeah.
So effectively grow the seeds, grow them on, harvest it, cook it, all in one space. Again, it's a veteran safe space. We have banter and brews at our 3 sites at the moment, down in Worcester, one over at just outside of Malvern, and one in Oldbury. We also do an outreach banter and brew in Wolverhampton. We come along over to Practice Plus on various dates to do a banter and brew here. And again, it's all about that veteran safe space. The other thing that we do is a thing called the 7-Step Civilian Skills Programme.
Oh, yes.
Effectively, that is a training course for Civvy Street. So when people join the military, they're broken down into little pieces, and they're rebuilt into what the military need them to be. Certainly with the short-term service people, those who are the early service leavers, those who've been medically discharged, etc., they're not broken back down and rebuilt for Civvy Street. People have to understand that most military bases is effectively everything is there for a military person, even down to things like hairdressers. When they come back out to Civvy Street, they haven't got a clue about how to find doctors or dentists or other services that they may need. And that's where the 7-Step Civilian Skills Programme comes into its own. It's effectively training people for Civvy Street, which is really what the military should have done.
And in terms, of course, the patient's choice now, that's a remarkable development, isn't it, compared with traditionally how
it's a fantastic development.
Operated. And so as part and parcel of what you do, these steps, stepway, presumably in the future, Practice Plus Group is going to feature more and more in this.
Yeah, I would certainly hope so. We have, as I say, we have a really close working relationship with Practice Plus Group over at Birmingham, and we would hope for that to continue into the long-term future. Because of the way things are changing within the sort of the medical professional world, there is now the patient's choice programme, whereby you don't have to go to your local GP and your local hospital for some of these services. You can actually have referrals put into other agencies, and that's where PPG comes into its own. It's still the ability to have the services that you need, whether it be orthopaedics or whether it be urology or whatever it may be, because they've now got the opportunity to be able to refer to these agencies and not having to go through the long, timely wait within the NHS system.
So you could help guide potential patients down to other Practice Plus
Indeed.
Operations around the country.
Indeed. We although we cover Worcestershire and the West Midlands,
yes,
we do have links to other areas as well.
Right.
And we do sometimes support veterans that live outside of our region. We've got guys that we've supported up in Manchester and down in Exeter and up in the northeast. So if it means that we've got somebody that's in one of those regions that's a little bit closer, then so be it. It's like with Derek. Obviously, Derek was way outside of our region, but he was willing to travel to Birmingham to have the medical care that he needed.
That's wonderful. Well, look, thank you very much indeed for appearing on this podcast.
Most welcome. Thank you.
It's lovely to have you talking to us.
Cheers.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.